Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone. How are we doing? Happy Friday. All right. Whew. It is hot outside. It is. I think it was, I don't know if it got up to like 100 today. What temperature actually is it? Yeah, that sounds about right. It's almost 100 degrees. Whew, it's a hot one. I'm going to see if I can get the pet camera linked up here because it was not. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Look at that. All right, let's get that opened up. Of course, Bandit's way on the other side of the room, so let me. Okay. What are you doing, puppy? What are you doing? Ta-da! Just way over there. Actually, I can probably move this close. What are we doing? There we go. Okay, I think I fixed the problem with the chat not syncing. I hope I didn't jinx it by saying that out loud before I actually did it. But it seemed to have... Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. It seemed to have fixed itself. Oh. It seems like now I can no longer do the workaround I was doing before. Because I had the stream ready to go when it was showing up on my event list. Now it won't let me connect after the stream goes live. Annoying, ridiculous, but I guess that's how it is. I don't know why they would remove that. I don't know why they would get rid of that. That is very, very annoying. Well, I guess, okay. There's not really anything else I can do then if it doesn't want to actually connect. Because, like, the whole reason I can't connect to it directly is because it, like, can't handle, like, 4K video volume. Okay, well, I thought I worked around it. Turns out they just got rid of the feature I was using and didn't update anyone, I guess. So cool. Thanks, Restream. Excellent news. She is. Oh, she's sort of curled up. Sort of close. She's mostly like, I think she's hot. So she's probably gonna go lay down in the bathroom or something. That's my prediction. Which I don't blame her. I would also lay down on the hardwood floor on the tile if I had the option. Truly a cursed platform, indeed. I'm in the southeast and we barely broke 80. That sounds like a relief. Yeah, it's been hot here. 64 degrees here in Minnesota tonight. That would be perfect weather. It gets down to like 64 degrees at like 5 a.m. here. But during the daytime it gets really hot. And also it's been really smoky because there's been fires in Idaho, Eastern Oregon, and I'm going to assume California because California is always on fire. And therefore, it's very smoky. Okay, now what is it? Why can't I change the size? Why do things keep changing? I just want to change the size of these panels. Why is that so hard? I don't even really want that panel. Just like get rid of that. Okay, I wanted to make sure my microphone was actually on. The auto subtitles aren't available like they usually are. Oh, that's weird. Don't know why that would happen. Is that like let me see if that's something I can, I don't think I have to manually enable that. Well, it's not letting me, there is a toggle for closed captions, but it's fixed. Like, it's not even a toggle. I can't even actually do anything to it. Anything? No captioning. Nope. I don't see it. Hi, Evie. I'm so grateful for your content. I live in Amsterdam, and it's 3 a.m. right now. I'm only awake because of loud neighbors, but I'm happy. Thank you so much for your content. Well, thank you very much for catching me from Amsterdam. I am surprised continually. Like, if you look at which, I mean, you guys can't, but I can. If you look at my channel analytics, if you look at the countries I have the most viewers from, obviously, United States is, like, way up there. And then, like, UK, Canada... And then like the Netherlands is like fourth. Like it's like above Australia, it's above Germany, it's above countries that have a way bigger population. And like I don't know, Dutch people, maybe they're more comfortable with kink on average. Or maybe just because a lot of Dutch people know English. I don't know. Could be a bunch of things. Oh no, not receiving enough video. Oh, technology, why are you doing this to me? You were working fine before. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, why is that happening? Well, it looks like it's fine on my end. I don't know what the frick is going on. Okay. Well, whatever. We always have to have, I guess, now our tradition is having 5 minutes of weird technology things. I'm just hoping... There's been issues before where when it buffers like this, like, people will get, like, kicked off the stream. And so it's harder for people to, like, actually stay joined to the stream. Okay. I think after stream today, I will just find... I thought I fixed the restream thing, but apparently they're just not going to work for me anymore. So that's really disappointing. I just can't have a chat thing that like just crashes my streaming software all the time. That's not going to work. All right. So with all that being said, yep, it just did what I said I was going to do, which is it just dropped a bunch of viewers off of the stream. Cool. Because it had issues with buffering. Awesome. Love that. Oh, no, now I fixed it. Okay. Well, I'm going to hope that that's not going to be a continual issue, and hopefully it could also, I don't know, maybe it's the hot weather. I mean, I have like a fan going. I don't have it as loud as I had last time because I know last time it sounded like people could hear it and it warped my voice. So I have it one setting lower. So let me know if it's like still too loud and I can maybe try to change the angle. But I do need to have some kind of fan going because it's way too hot to not have one. Although... hopefully I'll be getting an AC unit soon, but I think it'll probably be too late for using this year, but I'll have it around in case we get any weirdo weather changes. Anyone know how to keep 18 and under out of your channel? I mean, the actual answer is like if you're on the internet, there is no, oh no! Why is it dropping frames now? I just saw it. Okay, what is happening? Okay. There's nothing I can do about it. Why is it so hot? Okay, it went from like 2,000 kilobits per second to like 100,000. That's not supposed to happen. What is going on? What the fuck? That's so... Oh, why are you doing this, YouTube? Okay. I don't see anything on my end that's weird or different, so I'm not sure what's going on. That hasn't been a problem since I started streaming to YouTube directly, but honestly, who knows? All right, I'm just going to not worry about it. We're just going to keep going. So the answer to your question of like how do you keep 18 under out of your channel, if you're on the internet, there's not really a way to 100% make sure that an 18-year-old isn't accessing your content in some way, obviously. If you're doing like an age verification where they have to send a copy of their ID to a website to do age verification, that's going to be the best way to do it. But for somewhere like YouTube, obviously they're not doing that. And you can mark a video as age restricted, and that'll make it so it doesn't show up in search results, and it really limits the video. So you're kind of playing this trade-off game of like, well, age restricted means it's more likely a child won't see it, but also it means like no one will probably see it because it won't show up in recommendations, won't show up in search results, and basically someone has to like be very specifically looking for that video or for your channel to be able to actually see the video and play it. And, you know, with it being a Google account, it's really easy for somebody to make a Google account and say their birthday is different by 3 years or 5 years, or you know, use their parents' account or an older sibling's account and get around it. So from my own back end and what I can see for what my channel users look like, there's always been like a 0.5 to like 2% of users that have watched any of my videos that are under the age of 18. I think it's on average probably like 1%. It's very, very small to begin with, but like I do make videos talking about like birth control options or how to know you're asexual. And like obviously I'm okay with like somebody who's 17 looking up like what the side effects for the NuvaRing are, because like that's information that people that are below 18 also should probably have access to, because I know they're not really getting, especially in America, a lot of the education they do need on those kinds of topics. And like maybe their parents don't know, it's awkward to talk to a doctor about it. I don't know, lots of reasons. So yeah, anyways, there's not really a good way to make sure an 18-year-old or somebody who's under 18 won't see your content if you want it to be searchable or viewable at all, which is really frustrating. Like I've had videos that are fairly important, like big projects. Like there's one that I made specifically talking about this like alpha male influencer guy. I wonder if he's still around. Actually, I haven't checked. I want to, it's called the Natural Lifestyles or something. It's not like a condom brand. This Natural Lifestyles guy was making videos like promoting a BDSM course that he made that had like a bunch of like weird bad information in it about like hair pulling and choking and stuff, like things that if you knew how to do BDSM at all, you would like know not to do, like pulling someone's hair by like way back here, like that kind of like shit. It's like, does that look nice because you're holding the hair? Like, sure, yeah, maybe for a thumbnail, but like that's not actually like how, it's not how like nice hair pulling that's less likely to damage your spine looks. And I made a video about him, and that video got age restricted, and so like no one saw it. And the reason it got age restricted, even though his content wasn't age restricted, was because of the fact that like I had clips of videos and things from his courses or things that he was advertising on YouTube where like all the women were basically in lingerie. Like that wasn't genitals necessarily, although he had videos of women's bare asses and, you know, their backsides would clearly, they were not wearing a bra and like other things that were obviously like very sexual in nature. And even blurring it out, it like didn't matter. It still got age restricted. And then like no one saw it, even though it was like a ton of work. And like also I felt it was very important because that was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now at this point. And that was a guy that I think foretold the coming of the pickup artist manosphere people sliding into the BDSM world to attempt to like make money off of it and to sell. I don't know. They like there's only so much you can do in the pickup artist world when it comes to like how to cold approach a woman, like how to get her number, how to be a texting pro, like all like there's 20,000 of those courses and they're all like $1 million. Like they're very expensive. So when you've completely dried that well up, well, where do you go next? Okay, well, there's other sex stuff that you could talk about. But what do people really want to know about? The weird, mysterious world of BDSM, because everyone knows that bitches these days like love getting choked and having their hair pulled. So if you wanna pull baddies, you need to be able to do all these wild sex things, and this master can teach you what it is. And you just fly to Eastern Europe, and then there'll be Eastern European models available for you to practice on in like Croatia or wherever. Just. That's definitely fully consensual. It only didn't just like hire some migrant sex workers under questionable circumstances to loan them to you for the weekend. That's not prostitution at all. Don't think about it. Anyways, sort of not really related to what you asked, but it's a good example of like the kind of thing that gets age restricted on YouTube, even though, again, really the content that he made didn't get age restricted. Oh, the dog camera froze. I'm like, why has she been staring at me? She's staring at me the same way she was before. Why did that happen? Did I get disconnected? Literally nothing is working today. How is this all not working? Okay, it's like showing it's not even connected. But I know that it is connected. Did it disconnect when I moved it? Hi, baby. Hi. I'm just trying to fix the camera. That worked. Then we just unplug it and plug it back in again. That's the, that seems like that worked. Let's find out. No. Yes. Da da da. Hi, baby. You're staring at me. But you're allowed to do that because you're a dog. Dogs get to stare into my soul. There we go. Good girl. Yeah. Okay, good. Hopefully it won't freeze again. Whew, all right. So with that being said, I guess fingers crossed, knock on wood, no other tech issues arise for the time being. Okay, before I say what I was about to say, random question, because I've had this thought. I thought about, I'm not gonna like make reels or like make YouTube shorts, but I have an idea for something that I want to share with people that's not YouTube video length. And if I made it, it would like probably be really bad for my videos in the algorithm if I made it as like a regular YouTube video. I had an idea for a video that's like how to grow your nails such that men respect and or fear you. That's the short / reel I want to make. And I don't know if anyone cares about that. Would you like a video on how to grow your nails to make men respect and or fear you? That's my working title in my head. You know, or whatever gender of choice that you would personally like to intimidate and or impress. You know, pick your poison with that. Because I had very fragile peeling nails for a very long time, like over since last time I had COVID, so like almost a year ago. I really messed up my nails, and like I have pictures of my nails from like before I started to treat them, and like I could not grow them more than like a millimeter out, and they would break and they would chip really easily, and it would be painful because they would break like really far into the nail bed. And now they, you know, again, knock on wood, I haven't had that problem since like it got better probably by spring, but my nails have been like solid since the beginning of summer, since like June. And now to the point where I have to debate, like, if I actually need to cut them shorter, because I think they're just going to be able to keep growing. And it's getting to the point where it's very hard to text people and, like, type on my phone because the nail and my fingertip will hit the keypad at the same time. But I thought that might be a fun little, like, short video topic that obviously has kink implications, right? Because like who doesn't like to like a little like nail scratching, back scratching, you know, forehead scratching, little nails on the throat. I think nails, very underutilized tool in BDSM. Very underutilized tool. Maybe because not a lot of people have like strong natural nails. And so like, you know, they're just don't get used as much. But I think that they are a fantastic tool and they get underutilized. So anyways, that's a random idea that I had. The thing that I actually meant to start talking about outside of my nails, because that's just one of the things I've been very happy to improve upon this year. And it feels like an accomplishment for me to like finally figure this out, because my nails have been a problem for a very long time. And nails can cause a lot of people to be embarrassed. If you can't grow out your nails, or they look damaged, or they're yellow, or they're peeling, like, you know, nice to have like long, like, don't get me wrong, I love a Gel X. I love, you know, fancy nails. I love the, there's a new kind of like fake nail. That may be actually the Gel X is what I'm thinking of. Like, I love a good fancy nail, but I really enjoyed growing out my nails and having them be natural. But the thing I want to do now is we're going to talk about rules for the stream. So 18 plus only, like it says down there. Please read the rules down below. We have a whole FAQ down there as well. So you had some, you know, common questions that we get here a lot, you know, historically at least. How do you talk to your boyfriend about BDSM? How do you like find the community? Where can you buy a flogger? Where can you buy XYZ thing? Honestly, if you want to know, like, book recommendations, where to buy stuff, it's down below. I'm working on an updated version of all that stuff right now, actually. Honestly, most things haven't changed. It's just, like, maybe websites are down and they're not around anymore. But, like, for the most part, all the recommendations down there are still solid, but I'm going to be working on an updated version of them. So, hopefully, that'll be fun. All right, I'm just going to, like, turn the chat off because it's, like, not even not even available. So we're gonna turn that off for now. But that's basically it. Just be respectful. Don't spam the chat. I answer questions in the order they come in. If you want to make sure that I answer your question, the best way you can do that is to use a super chat. You can either go through Streamlabs or you can use YouTube. I'll see it either way. We'll read it out. It'll be a fun time. And then that means that you get your question answered right away. Otherwise, I go in order / I like try to keep up with the chat if we're having a conversation or it's like a personal question. There's kind of more of a back and forth. You know, I might get in a trend of answering related questions, but for the most part, we go in order. And we're here to have a fun time, basically. Just be respectful, be kind, and we will get the show on the road, so to speak. Yeah, YouTube is definitely having like connection issues today. I don't know what's going on with that. Love it. YouTube, I hope it's not abandoning its like streaming stuff. I've heard rumors that they're like YouTube's not investing in streaming as much anymore, which is weird because they keep giving us new features. So I don't know what to make of that. I want to apologize for saying the last time I was here a few weeks back, it's actually X rather than I've only heard X before, which is actually what I really meant anyways. Thank you for saying that, Caitlin. I can't remember what you specifically said, but I do appreciate the amendment because, you know, sometimes if we say things that sound very absolute, it's like, I mean, honestly, most of the time we were saying anything like super absolute, like this is always this way, or this is always this, or this never happens. Like you're gonna, where did the dog go? She disappeared. Oh, she went to go lay down where it's cool. Actually, the camera won't reach over there, so I'll have to turn that back on when the doggo's in viewing range. Hello indeed. I live in Amsterdam and I am only awake by accident, but always wanted to be there on time for real. Well, you are here on time for real. Congratulations. Glad you could make it. Oh, I will pull up the real-time chat on my phone. I remember I was doing that last time. That way I can see if people start yelling at me that like the audio goes out or something. It doesn't take 20 minutes to get to it. She has gone rogue indeed. I normally let my nails grow until one breaks and I cut them short, or I cut them short when I start my period so I can insert my cup easier. I mean, hey, you know, that's practical. That makes sense. I normally would cut them when one of them breaks, but that hasn't like happened in a long time. And like if I cut them shorter before one of them breaks, it'll be less likely that one breaks, right? So I don't know, but that's a good point. If you have to insert anything. Repeated from pre-stream. Oh yes, I just read that part out loud. No worries. So I think we answered that one. Have you been seeing all the taboo kink discourse? Oh, Jay, yes, I have. On Twitter the last few days. If so, could you share your opinion? Wow, thanks for just like perfectly allowing me to talk about what was in the title of the stream. So that is the reason for the title of today's stream, which is Taboo Kinks. We have super chat from Andrew. Let me actually get to this one first. How long do you think is long enough to because talking about the thing on Twitter is going to take a minute. How long do you think is long enough to properly negotiate for pickup play? Feels like I've met more people that think pickup is too risky. Interesting. I mean, I guess it probably depends on how normal it is in your local community. I mean, where I've lived, it's always been like fairly normal. As far as like, okay, there's negotiating for pickup play with like somebody who's a known quantity in your local community, right? They go to a lot of parties, you know their name, you've seen them at Munches a lot, you know their play partners, like you've seen them play before, you're familiar with them. Doesn't really matter either side of the slash, but certainly for doms, like, to me, that's like a good baseline to have. And so if you already know the person, you're familiar with them and their style, and you know, you largely know if you're going to be compatible or not, kind of because you've seen them play before, then, you know, negotiating just for like something that evening for, I think probably if it's somebody I know already, even if we haven't played before and we're just doing like a quick little pickup scene and like it's very narrow and it's like we're only doing this one thing and we both agree to not do anything else and we're going to do an hour to do this, I would probably take, like, time-wise, 15 to 20 minutes to talk out the basics, because typically I'm already there with the partner. So like aftercare, I'm going to be doing with somebody else. And if we are going to be doing aftercare with each other, it's probably going to be more abbreviated because we probably have other people that we're going to be doing our aftercare with. And the actual scene itself, because I'm keeping it so narrow, most of the time when I'm doing pickup play with someone, there's not really a lot of extensive negotiation to do. Like, let's say I'm doing it for a rope bondage scene and we're just staying on the floor. We're not going up in the air at all. I tell them, like, I'm okay with rope on my torso, but not over my arms. I'm okay with rope anywhere lower than that. That's totally fine. I have a weird nerve thing in my foot. This is what you need to know about that. Don't put any rope around my genitals, over my head or on my neck, etc. I like to play with this kind of energy. I like to feel this kind of way. This is about how much energy I have for a scene, especially because for me, especially in rope, which is the example I'm using, like I tend to stay very aware in rope. I have to like intentionally like opt in to like sinking into rope and like going into more of a spacey headspace, because like I can be in rope and just like totally like stay cognizant and be giggling and talking and saying, hey, I have about like 5 minutes left here. Hey, this is like feeling itchy. This doesn't feel good. Let's dress the rope here. And so I don't really need to worry too much with that kind of play about being really specific about like what to do if I go nonverbal or this or that, because like I know myself well enough by now to where I know what can bring that on. And I know, especially with rope, 9 times out of 10, I'm like completely aware if I want to be. I can also choose to totally sink into it and be very floaty, but I like that depends on the partner I'm playing with, usually somebody I know really well, and like if I choose to go there. So I'm okay just being very narrow, be like, oh, we're going to try this tie and this tie and this tie, and we're going to do this, and we're going to have this energy, and we want to feel this way, and this is how we're going to communicate, and, you know, let's wait for a floor space to open up. And that may take like 15 or 20 minutes, like maximum, to like fully talk about everything that we want to do. Whereas if it was somebody that I hadn't met at all before, they were like brand new, they're like, oh, I'm from Phoenix and I just moved to the area and I'm interested in doing this and that. You know, here are some things I did a lot in my old community. This is what I'm interested in trying here. Maybe we're doing more something like impact play, where communication, especially like looking face to face, can be a lot harder to do, because for the most part, at least for me as a bottom, I prefer to play with things happening on my back, not on my front side. So I'm relying more on like check-ins. I'm relying more on my partner to do those check-ins with me, because I might go more floaty. I might be like crying a lot. I might be having a more intense emotional experience that I cannot always predict as well as I can with how I'm going to be feeling in rope. And so for that, I might not do pick a play with somebody the same night. It might be, oh, great. Yeah, like I would love to play sometime. I think, you know, especially because I don't really know you that well, I love to talk more about it, but let's maybe go over some details and see if we could be compatible. And then we'll talk about doing a scene, you know, maybe the next night if it's like an event or something, or maybe like next week if you're going to be coming back next week, or the next time this party happens. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's 2 months, whatever, and just get in each other's dance cards, and then maybe check out their FetLife profile in the interim, maybe see if they have any other partners you can talk to, do kind of more vetting with somebody you don't necessarily know that well. But again, it's keeping that negotiation very narrow and very specific to like, we are going to be doing a flogging scene on the back for this long on this piece of furniture, and like, is it going to be sexual or non-sexual? Is it going to feel this way or that way? Like, is other, you know, partners going to be watching? Are we going to be doing any kind of bondage? Usually for me, it's an either or, in terms of like, it's either bondage or it's impact play. It's not both. There's no any kind of thing that can impact communication ability, like gags, blindfolds, etc. That's not going to be in play here with a new person for pickup play. And of course, like, even if you're doing it the way I'm describing, which I think is like a fairly conservative way of doing pickup play, I certainly know people where like they just kind of fling themselves off of, you know, off of the St. Andrew's cross onto somebody else and go, oh, you're going to play with me next. And they just kind of say, oh yeah, that sounds cool. Great. Let's try it. And they just like wing it and totally go for it. And that works right up until it doesn't. And that's when you have situations where somebody is like surprised by somebody bringing in a toy they didn't talk about, or somebody putting a gag on them, or somebody touching them somewhere they didn't want to be touched. And you can have a higher level of risk in those scenarios. And even if you're doing it like the way I was describing, obviously those risks are still there. Like, you can still have someone do something you don't want, or push you into a headspace you don't want to be in, or like you can start playing with somebody who's a new person to you and realize that in the scene with them, even if you liked watching them play from the outside, playing with them, the energy is different and it's not really what you wanted or expected. And then that's, it's disappointing, but life goes on. Things can be fine. But again, I think it really depends on what kind of scene you want to do. So yeah, if you want to go into the woods and do like a Halloween themed satanic sacrifice, like bondage role play, blood play scene or whatever the fuck, like, yeah, you probably need to do some more vetting and take some more time. I wouldn't do that as like a pickup play thing where you just find someone on the internet to do it. That's not going to work out. But it really depends on what you're asking for. I've never heard that's like a new thing that people are saying now, and like the community is always changing its standards and what we think is appropriate or not. So maybe this is something that's changing in certain places, if not everywhere. I have certainly heard other people, be cautious about pickup play personally, but not make any statements like, oh, pickup play is just like too dangerous to do. Because I think that, I don't know, to me that kind of puts the blame for like what makes things dangerous on the wrong part of the experience. Like, I don't think it's the pickup play that's the problem itself. It's how thorough is your negotiation style, and how limited are you in negotiating, and then like what's the environment you're playing in. Because I think you could know someone for months and negotiate a scene backwards and forwards, top to bottom, but if you're doing it at private, at their home dungeon or something where you're all alone, that's going to be way fucking riskier than playing in public. Or if you're playing at a dungeon that like doesn't have DMs, or like doesn't have a good reputation, or like doesn't want to interfere in other people's scenes and like only will respond if you're like, screaming red, and like even then they might just go, well, I don't really care about that. Like, it depends a lot on the environment you're playing in, and it doesn't get rid of all the risk. I think it more like, I don't know how to say this, and I don't know if this is exactly what I mean, so have grace with me as I try to work out what exactly I'm intending by this and how to communicate it effectively, effectively rather. I think that sometimes people get really excited about doing a scene because it's something they're really into doing, and maybe they don't always get the opportunity to do it. And they put their blinders on, and then they rush through negotiation because, okay, yeah, we talked about what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and aftercare. That's basically it, right? Like, we have a safe word, great. And they're just going through the checklist of like, oh, we need to talk about this and this and this. But they're not listening to how they're feeling while they're doing the negotiation. They're not talking about maybe stuff that's not strictly related to the play itself. They're not asking questions about like, well, how do you handle things when things go wrong? Or like, asking very specific questions about their experience with that particular kind of play. And then they're not listening to those responses closely enough. Like, if somebody seems really dodgy or seems to like minimize stuff, like, oh yeah, I mean, I've had stuff go wrong before, but like it was fine. And like, no one has any complaints. Ha ha ha. Like, listen for statements that seem to be like minimizing or deflecting. Listen for statements that seem to indicate the person is maybe misrepresenting their level of experience, especially if you are worried about play going sexual in a way that you don't want to go. Ask a lot of questions about that. Ask about, like, because I've certainly had people approach me for pickup play that their style is normally very sexual, and they swear up and down, even though I've literally seen them like dick deep in somebody before. Like, they'll swear up and down, oh no, like, I mean, I can totally play non-sexually, like, for a scene it's not a big deal. But then I know from the writings on FetLife and their previous scenes and all their photos on FetLife and their about section on FetLife and the way that they're talking to me in the moment that like sex is ultimately the goal for them for kink, and they might temporarily be okay to try to put that on the shelf. But if kink for you is a sexual experience and that's why you're doing it, even if you promise to not literally touch someone's genitals, you will probably bring a sexual energy into the scene itself. And that might make someone, i.e. me, uncomfortable because that's not the experience that you want to be having. So just listen to those nonverbals, listen to the way that somebody's talking about something. And then if you get a bad vibe about anything and you don't feel comfortable doing something, then don't do it. You can do it next time. You can watch them play more. Maybe you can get an idea for something that's more inside of your risk profile range for what you're okay doing with that person. But if anything feels off or dodgy, listen to that, because I think people oftentimes will train themselves to not listen to that because they don't want to miss out on opportunities, or they don't want to seem rude by turning someone down. It's okay to get through a negotiation and at the end be like, yeah, the more that we talked about this, I realized that we want different things from the scene, and that's totally okay. I want us to both have time to play with people that we are going to be more compatible with and have a nice night. Obviously you don't want to waste maybe an hour to get to that point if you only have, 2 hours left for the dungeon being open or for the event to be taking place. But if you can get the bravery to do that, that's really important versus doing scenes that you are pretty sure are going to be great. But also, it's not even just listening for that. It's also listening for things that seem too good to be true. Listening for people saying and just reflecting back what you want without actually, and this goes for both sides of the slash. They say things to you that you want to hear. And that's the only thing that they say. If you say, oh, I really want to do a scene that's really cathartic, and I want to be able to cry a lot. And they're like, oh yeah, totally. I love doing cathartic scenes and I love it when my partners cry. Oh, well, I love to get that way through whips. I'm oh, I also love whips. If they are just echoing back to you whatever you want to hear to make a scene happen, that's a really big red flag. They should have their own independent wants and desires. And it's great if you are somehow magically that compatible. Chances are some random person you just met out of nowhere, they're probably not going to be that compatible with you on literally every item in the checklist you have sequentially. It's pretty rare. Pretty rare. All right, let me see if there's any follow-up things in the chat for now about this. We're talking about something else, apparently, in the chat, and I'm not sure what's happening. I'm not really sure what we're talking about at the minute in the chat. Hopefully that gave you a very thorough answer to the question of pickup play. Because pickup play is risky. I don't want to minimize it, but I think you can mitigate a lot of the risk by just being cautious about who you're playing with, playing in spaces that you feel comfortable being in, playing around other people. I didn't mention this yet, so I will say this. Playing with somebody else to spot you is great. If you have a friend or a partner that can, from a respectful distance, okay, let's not be crowding on people or having comments from the peanut gallery on their flogging technique or whatever, okay? Keep that. If you want to be a little gossipy goose, you can do that far enough away from the scene, okay? People are going to say shit. They're going to be like, oh, I wouldn't do that way. That's going to happen. Just don't do it in earshot, okay? Be polite. Speaking of things from YouTube and social media these days, that's one of them. But you can have someone watch your scene, and then maybe you can have an agreement with them that, maybe you have a hand signal with them that you'll use that they're supposed to watch for. That oh, if I'm not feeling comfortable, if I want you to step in right before I say red, I'll also give you this hand signal. Because maybe you're not if you're worried for any reason that someone could not respect your red or maybe not even hear you use a safe word, you might want to have a friend that you can say, hey, I'm going to make this hand sign, and if I make it, can you come in and step over? And then you have that agreement as a group. That's something that can happen. If you don't have it be a surprise, because I think that can go badly, but it's okay to have a backup. You can totally do that. That's all good. But yeah, that's more or less it. So let's get to the next question I was almost about to start answering, which is my thoughts on Taboo, Kinks, and the discourse TM copyright Elon Musk 2024 that's been happening on good old-fashioned Twitter.com. And I have debated making a video about this, and it's gotten enough traction from really big accounts to where I'm okay, it's getting to the point where maybe this is worth talking about in a larger format. I haven't seen it quite be as popular as some other discourses I've talked about, but it could be worth a further discussion, maybe with some more refined thoughts attached to it. But for people who are not on Twitter, and I am not, like, I'm taking a Twitter break. I keep, like, logging in so I can, like, say something about, like, a stream that's going on or promote a new video that got published. So even though I'm only on Twitter for, like, 5 or 10 minutes at a time, the algorithm is like, we know you want to see this garbage. And they're right. I do want to see this garbage. And so whenever I log in, the very top of my feed is like this discourse. And it all started because a couple of days ago, a puppy girl, remember we just talked about those? We talked about puppy girls. A puppy girl posted a photo of being at her desk and eating pasta out of a dog bowl. Well, I think on a Discord voice chat. I think out of all of the things in that photo that were cringy, the Discord voice chat was probably, to me, admitting to being one of those is probably the most cringy. But a lot of people had comments and thoughts about the puppy bowl part of it, because it had the person's name on it, and it was that, like, live, laugh, love, like, Pinterest mom font, okay? If you're getting a custom bowl, they only really do it in like 4 fonts. So like, I kind of get it. But the bowl, speaking of bowls, like it was basically like this. Like this is a regular bowl, okay? It was about this size and it was black and I just said the person's name on it and they were just eating some pasta in it. I actually have a stir fry in this that I meant to be eating, but I haven't been eating because I've been talking. I think I'll probably just end up like reheating this later. I'm kind of on a roll. I don't want to interrupt my my roll to eat stir fry. So they were eating up a bowl, and it was pasta, and it was great. And at first, all the comments were like real cute, and they were like, "OMG, where do I get one?" Or like, "What are your favorite pasta recipes?" Like whatever. It was very wholesome. And then the wrong side of the internet started to see the post, and 2 things happened at that point. One, I'm not sure on the timeline on this part of it. I'm not sure which came first or if they happened simultaneously. One version was that people really focused on eating out of a dog bowl being cringe. And because the person that posted this is a trans woman, that instantly turns into, oh my goodness, she's making all other trans people look bad. She's being a weirdo freak degenerate because she's eating out of a dog bowl. And it's a little bit to me like, are we really? Is this what we're focusing on right now? Somebody's happy eating out of a dog bowl, which is only different from a regular person bowl in context because it has the person's name on it. And then there was a really big streamer who like quote tweeted this and like essentially said the same thing about like, oh my God, they're like giving us all a bad name and it's cringe and it's weird and disgusting. And like someone like basically was like, would you be okay with this if it was like a regular bowl, but they had the name on it? And they're like, no, that would still be cringe. I swear to Christ, I do not understand this. Every day I am more convinced that hashtag not all Zoomers, but a lot of Zoomers are very afraid of doing anything or anyone around them doing anything cringe. You can't do anything cringe. And by cringe, what we mean is anything a little bit different, anything that is too earnest, anything that is too nerdy in the wrong ways, or anything that is part of a, I don't know if this is a term, but a marginalized interest group. Right? Don't be a trans woman that wears cat ears. Don't be a trans person that eats out of a dog bowl. Don't do like mediocre cosplays. Don't like play certain like cringe video games. Don't wear certain like cringe outfits or cringe, like everything is cringe. And that's the highest, worst thing that you could possibly do. Again, especially as a trans person, because then it's like, oh my God, you're making all the rest of us look bad by your check notes, eating out of a dog bowl. and enjoying that privately. We're not talking about like they brought the dog bowl to a restaurant. We're not talking about they brought the dog bowl to the family dinner. They didn't bring the dog bowl to Thanksgiving. They're not eating on the floor. They're not eating with their dog. They're not doing anything. If any of those things were happening in the photo, then I'd be like, yeah, maybe don't do that. I would not encourage a kinky person to bring their dog bowl to the family Thanksgiving. To the Friendsgiving with kinky people, load up that dog bowl of pumpkin pie. I'm not going to stop you. Do what you're going to do. If we're not talking about like people eating on the floor or bringing it to a restaurant, or it was just on a desk, normally the way that like, the only reason it is different than when I eat dinner at my desk is because the bowl had a name on it. Like it's really not that fucking difficult. But for some reason, people get very agita. They get very agita about people doing anything a little bit different, and they are allergic to anyone being embarrassing. Fucking heaven help these people. How are they going to survive? They need to develop a thicker skin. I am begging, I am pleading. Something needs to change so that way these people can like start to cope like mentally and emotionally. And I'm being serious. Legitimately, people need to do something in themselves to develop the emotional resilience to cope with people doing things that they would not do that they think are a little bit embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing to have a truck that has a giant sticker on it that says, "Trucks are for girls." All right? I'm not going to post a person's truck, including the license plate, on Twitter and be like, oh my God, cringe, because I don't need to bully people to feel better about myself. And for some reason, people don't stop and realize, oh, if I post about this and a bunch of people see it, what they're going to see is one trans person being attacked by like every other trans person on Twitter for being cringe. And that means it's an acceptable dogpile opportunity where now every conservative, every incel, every manosphere person, I repeat myself, they all get to dogpile on the person who did something cringe because the presumable in-group for that person was like, ew, they're also gross and bad. So it just opened up the floodgates of like permission to like mock this person openly on Twitter. Thankfully, I think it all ended up going okay in the end. Like I didn't get doxxed or anything, but like that kind of thing happens a lot, and it's very uncomfortable. It's very annoying. As a Gen Z, they love to do performative nonchalance and would rather die than seem genuine or passionate about anything. It's really frustrating as someone who's very passionate about little stuff. Yeah, like it reminds me, it almost is sort of like a Daria attitude, like that era, almost like a Gen X type mentality of like, I'm too cool to care about this or care about anything because I'm such a misanthrope. But that doesn't, like, you know, if you're a teenager, that's fine. But also the people that are saying this are like in their 20s. They're like 23, 24. And I know that a lot of people have delayed development because of COVID and everything. Like, you know, our socialization for the youths is behind because of a lot of different factors. But yeah, there's definitely a trend of like, how dare you be earnest or upfront or vulnerable about anything that like other people might not like. You have to have, like, there's such a desire and a need to have, like, the proper pre-vetted opinion. And I would say there's probably a direct correlation between this and be ready for it, cancel culture. But not in the, like, we're canceling Kevin Spacey for doing sex crimes, like, type cancel culture. I mean, like, people on the internet who are like niche micro celebrities that have commentary channels, like being like canceling each other over like a bad joke or a misphrased thing, right? Like, you know, like the Lindsay Ellis like type cancellation. That is what I'm thinking about specifically. And I think seeing that for years consecutively during key developmental milestones when we're learning about what is socially acceptable to do when we interact with peers, I think that has likely had a long-lasting impact on people and the kinds of behavior they have towards others, because now there's this really strong need not just to like give your individual opinion and be like, I think that's weird, but like police other people for doing things that you don't like, almost because you're worried about like damnation by proxy. Like, oh no, if this person who's part of a group that I'm in is doing something cringe, then other people will think I'm cringe, and that's like the worst thing possible. That's what it seems like to me. Yeah, like the whole "you're not grown until 25" thing is bullshit, but definitely I think if I wasn't properly mature until I was like 22 or 23, 19, 20, 21, I still had fucking weird priorities. Yeah. Everyone is so scared of judgment that they become ultra judgmental. Very ironic. I guess true, but also like not necessarily unpredictable either. Like if you have a society that's like very focused on like tight control of what is socially acceptable, this is naturally the outcome. People policing each other, people turning on each other easily because they don't want to be painted with the same brush ultimately. That's I hate the model minority. Let people just be human. I know, like, it's okay to just like do things that are different. And also, like, not all trans people think the same. They all don't have the same priorities. Like, it's really weird to hold everyone to the standard of like, oh, a good trans woman does this and talks about things this way and does not do this, that, or the other. It's insane. The difference between, this is from Twixie, the difference between Gen X and Gen Z is that when Gen X didn't care, they seemed to genuinely not care rather than spending all day making sure that every single person on Earth knows they don't care. Yeah, I mean, given Gen X did not have access to, like, social media, so who knows if it would have played out differently had Facebook existed in 1990. But I think you're definitely onto something there. Like, there's, and again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm making something like boomer, like anti-zoomer comments, all right? I think that this is all stuff that we can solve. I don't think that the kids are like uniquely terrible in a way that has never happened before. Like the ways that different generations do things are always going to be cringe in different ways. They're always going to be bad in different ways, right? But some people cope with it differently than others. But I think it's cringe to label everyone else as being cringe. That's my statement. We need to do the cringe equivalent of kink shaming people for kink shaming. We need to cringe shame people for cringing so much. That's the key. That's how we get them. That's how we do it, everyone. We start quote tweeting people back and being like, actually, I think that you being so like having such a cringe response to this is actually the real cringe. I think we figured it out. I think we got it. I'm a zoomer. I think we need a little criticism. I mean, hopefully, I don't know if it'll help at all, but may have cracked the code on that one. Yeah, it's what I was gonna say is Gen Z. Sometimes the attitude that I see, especially on social media and Twitter and TikTok, reminds me of the Wojak, where he's like got the mask on and then he's like crying behind the mask, but his face is on the mask is like normal. That's what it reminds me of. That's what I think of when I think of like them being like, I don't care, but it's cringe, and it's like you quote tweeted this 4 times and then retweeted it every single time it went viral, and you're telling me that you don't care. Okay, sure. Yeah, there's there is like, again, it's almost like it's being allergic to authenticity. I don't know why. I don't know. I think honestly, again, it goes back to cancel culture. I think that people have not always been rewarded for making, I'm not talking about people that like did blackface, okay? I'm talking about people that like legitimately said something that could have been a learning opportunity, and instead of it actually being a learning opportunity, they got like canceled because, and like they got bullied for years about it afterwards because they like compared one media franchise featuring an Asian lead character with like a different franchise, and then people assumed that was like a racist thing against Asian people or something. I don't know, like that kind of a thing. But like we could talk about it, we could analyze it, we could reach a consensus and know how to work better going forward. But instead of doing that, we just bully people into silence and try to run them off the internet. And again, I think if we see that during our core developmental years for how we socialize with our peers over and over and over and over and over again, and we don't see any alternative, we're going to be real freaking scared of saying or doing anything that is a little bit different, that's not been pre-approved, that's not been said already by somebody else. And so if anyone does anything that's a little bit different, it's going to be real scary. So I think that's probably where it's coming from ultimately. But the other side of this, that's branch 1 of this conversation, is we are having problems with people not being able to handle cringe, and they make it everyone else's problem. That's one aspect of this, okay? The other aspect of this over here is surprise, incest discourse. Were you ready for that to be the topic? were you ready for incest discourse to be the next thing going on? Yeah. I think the comments on Insta say are saying bring back shame. We need to have shame about people having shame. We need people to have shame about committing acts of group shame. That's what I need. I need people to put it away. Put it away. Just use that for when it's necessary, you know? Like we have other options first. We're leaping way out there when we could handle this on a much smaller basis. And the funny part is younger people don't seem to realize that getting canceled is impossible unless you let yourself get canceled. Take a week off on the internet and everyone will forget. I think that's largely true for very big creators, especially for people that are like, I don't know, like the Aiden Rosses of the world that both have a very big audience and audiences that like take pleasure in being contrarian. I think when you have people that are like Lindsay Ellis, ContraPoints, that realm where like having correct thought and doing things correctly is very valuable to that audience, I think it's much more likely that like people will dog on you every single time you start posting on the internet again. It's always a risk. Some people are going to just let it go after a bit once they've had their fun online, and some people are going to continually make it a problem every single time the person says something about anything. Until they feel like unsafe being online. So you don't really know where you're going to get until it happens. But you are right to a certain extent that like you can't actually, like in terms of like, they can't, unless they like falsely report your channel such that your YouTube account gets deleted or your Twitter account gets banned, you can't actually be run off the internet by canceling unless you're dealing with like getting reported for stuff. For the most part, if you are on social media and you are posting stuff still, like if you go private, if you restrict who can comment on your posts, if you do things in members only mode, like you can get through a lot of people being really mad at you without like even your core audience noticing. This is why like Colleen Ballinger still makes videos. This is why Jeffree Star is still around. This is why James Charles is still around. This is why Shane Dawson is still around. All these people, surprising number of them, canceled for things involving sex acts and minors. Surprising number on that list. And none of them have actually ever been permanently canceled, even though we're dealing with like potential crimes and like deep violations of trust as a content creator. But then the people who actually get ran off the internet are like a like trans black woman who like disagrees with a streamer, or a woman who like, I don't know, like talks too openly about like a bad situation she has with like a YouTuber and like people identify who it is. That's who ends up getting like actually canceled, because it, like their audience to begin with is so small that they end up getting completely flooded out by the people who actually hate them. But yeah, that's a whole other topic. All right, let's get into, I said it and then I didn't talk about it at all. So before anyone has any misunderstandings or makes any further assumptions, let's talk about incest discourse, shall we? So on my channel, I've not talked really about incest too much. First of all, because my brain doesn't like the word, and I'll end up eventually saying the word insect instead. So it's hard for me. Honestly, if I make a video about it, I'll probably just use the word insect, because that's the stage of YouTube censorship we're currently at. So just if I start fucking up the word, that's how my brain works. Sorry. I haven't really talked about it, even if it does sometimes come up in discourse about things like DDLG, ABDL, caregiver little relationships, that whole wheelhouse, because people usually either go for pedophilia or incest, and that being why those kinks are wrong. Oh, we have a super chat here from Hyper Tarantula 42. Not 420, I will note. But actually, painting of a tarantula? Very consistent username. I like it. I feel like sometimes when people feel cringe, they feel like entitled to be a shitty person. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Like in the sense that like when people think that something is cringy, that like gives them permission to like be mean to the person because now it's justified, right? Like, oh, it's okay that I like called you those names because I was giving you a taste of your own medicine, or I was trying to show you how harmful your behavior is to people. Like, yeah, there's a lot of like, oftentimes people who are behaving in shitty ways will find a way to justify it, and this gives people a cover. Like I was saying about like the bullying thing, and how especially if it's like people from a marginalized community being talked about by people from that same community, it will extend outside of that into people that hate that community, like, you know, transphobes, conservative people, manosphere people, incels. Again, I repeat myself, they will end up glomming onto that too, because it gives them a cover to be like, oh, well, it's okay that I'm saying these like transphobic things or these homophobic things or what have you, because, well, like, look at what they're doing. I'm not saying that all trans people or all gay people are that way, but they are, because look at their insert slur here, like tight behavior. And then they kind of get like a pass to do it, which is very gross. We have a super chat here from Ellie that says, and thank you, Ellie.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to say that I watched your videos for a while during the pandemic, and they helped me gain enough confidence and knowledge to get into the kink scene. I just hit 3 years in the scene and couldn't be happier. Thank you.
Breaking up the dire topic we have here. Good, I like it. Ellie said, I just wanted to say that I watched your videos for a while during the pandemic, and they helped me gain enough confidence and knowledge to get into the kink scene. I just hit 3 years in the scene and couldn't be happier. Thank you. You are so welcome, Ellie. Thank you. I appreciate the super chat, and that's why I do what I do. And then we have, I don't know why I'm pointing where we have Tarantula super chat from earlier. I already read. But yeah, a lot of people are agreeing with that one, it looks like. And I agree with that sentiment as well. So as I was getting into saying, it's not really something I've talked about a lot, even though it does come up in discourse about those topics, mostly because I feel like if I say the word, it will age restrict the video. It's something that I'm aware of, but usually people will either attack, again, those things, CGL, ABDL, DDLG, they will attack it, which, by the way, for people who don't know, that's adult baby diaper lover, daddy dom little girl, and caregiver little, just in case you haven't heard those terms before. A lot of people, especially vanilla people that are just like kind of aware of like, oh, DDLG is when girls wear tutus and have pacifiers, or ABDLs is when people drink out of bottles and have giant baby onesies, adult baby onesies on. Like people that only are very aware of like maybe the superficial aesthetic of it, and they have an idea in their heads of what they think those dynamics are about and what they're like, they will assume, oh, this, because of how it looks, this has to be a way for somebody to act out pedophilic urges, or a way to like recreate incest or normalize it in some way, or normalize pedophilia. And those obviously are really bad. And it's like, just from the way it looks, I mean, just look at it, right? I mean, it's so obvious on its face that it has to be gross and bad and wrong, because look at how it appears. That's a very powerful argument for a lot of people, is like, just look at it on the surface. You just know, rely on your intuition. You can tell because of your gut feeling this is gross. This actually has to be gross. Similar thing happens with other kinks I have talked about more, right? Same thing happens with like total power exchange relationships. Same thing happens with, ravishment play or consensual non-consent. Twitter has previously had discourses about pretty much all of these, or even like male dom, female sub relationships, right? That has to be like anti-feminist and misogynistic and internalized misogyny to even want to engage in those things. And then they accuse kinky people of like not being willing to admit this. If I get one more comment from somebody on any social media platform that's like, do kinky people talk about how female submission is actually just internalized misogyny? Is that a conversation you guys have at all? Just wondering. If I get one more comment like that, or a comment that accuses us of like not having the internal ability to reflect on the community, we talk about it all the time. Like, since before I was in the community, I remember people having dialogue about this 10 years ago, because the kink community was like a big thing. It was around when like the last huge wave of feminism happened in the 80s. This is discourse we've been having for a long time. I don't know, maybe like read some more queer theory. You might be surprised how much kinky stuff pops up in that and gets talked about. This is a discourse we've been having for a minute. So yes, when you talk about it as a thing, not what I'm talking about, but as an aside, as an example, those are the kinds of things that, like, previously on, like, other social media for vanilla people, they've gotten really up in arms about. So it's not surprising that in this case, this would also come up. And the reason why it came up was because the person who took a picture of the dog bowl that they dared to eat pasta out of at their desk, like a freak. I mean, I shouldn't even say that sarcastically because I don't mean it that way. But, like, I just feel like it's so, like, this is what it takes to be a freak, is eating, like, I'm sorry. I feel like I remember people talking about how they used to eat literal dog biscuits as a child. I feel like I remember people talking about how they used to, like, eat glue or eat the wax off of, like, Baby Bell cheeses. I feel like this was something that we used to have, like, people would say that they did. So we're okay with people doing that. But, like, oh no, eating regular human food out of a dog bowl that's edible and delicious, that has your name on it, that's the bridge is too far. That's suddenly gross. Because, and the reason why it's gross, to be clear, is because it makes the other person think about sex at all. And that's bad. Like, I would have never predicted, as an asexual person, I would have never predicted that there would have been such a generational shift where now, and I don't know if this is like a collective trauma thing, I don't know where this is coming from, but there's been a really huge shift where now if you do anything or say anything that might accidentally make someone else think about the concept of sex, even if you're not doing something for sexual reasons yourself, like wearing a collar, like eating out of a dog bowl, like wearing a crop top shirt, like this is literally patriarchal, like fundamentalist Christian logic. You are sinning and doing something wrong because you did something or said something or dressed in a way that caused me to falter and think about a sex thing that's dirty and wrong and gross. So you're the one with the problem. That's what it sounds like, which should be really concerning that that's like the current way that people are thinking about things. But that is what people seem to be going towards, is thinking in this puritanical way, this I like to say fundamentalist more than puritanical, because puritanical sounds like old-timey, whereas fundamentalist is like actually this is what people who are fundamentalists like think about this. This is actually how they talk about it, and it's like leaping into the dominant culture, which is exactly what they want to have happening, by the way. So they get upset because you eating out of a dog bowl in a non-sexual way because you think it's funny and because it makes you more excited to eat dinner and you have an eating disorder is gross to me, and it makes me think about you getting like pegged in the ass, and I don't want to think about that. So like, don't eat out of a dog bowl. Like something totally unrelated. Like it reminds me, J.K. Rowling in one of her later books, her non-Harry Potter books, does a similar thing with like whenever she talks about a fat person. This is something that Sean talked about in his video on Harry Potter, but there's a section of, I think it's, what is it? It's something vacancy, something like the inadequate vacancy or the something, I don't know, it was a weird, something, what the heck was that book called? The casual vacancy. I don't know why I thought it started with an I. I'm not sure where I got that from. But in the casual vacancy, she has a section where like she talks about how like she I'm not going to repeat it because to me this is like so fat phobic. I don't even want to repeat it. But she describes someone who is noticeably fat in a way that is like extraordinarily rude. And then she ends that thought by saying that like, you know, everyone who saw him instantly thought of his penis and like if it was capable of like whether or not his penis, like if his penis was capable of doing any of the functions that, you know, a penis was designed for. Like, J.K. Rowling, why are you thinking so much about other people's dicks? What do you think? Like, maybe this is just me, but I'm pretty sure that other people are not like every single time they see somebody who's fatter than them, they don't instantly think about other people's genitals and how they're functional or not. I have never thought that in my entire life, ever. That's never been a thought that's occurred to me. Oh my God. Okay, what if I eat out of a Tupperware container? Am I a freak too? Oh, a sex freak specifically? Depends on if you microwave it in the Tupperware or not. If you microwave it in the Tupperware, sex freak. If you eat it cold from the fridge in the Tupperware, not a sex freak. I don't make the rules, that's how it is. I think some people think sex is the only explanation to enjoy it. Well, they think sex is the only reason to do, like, a lot of things. The only reason you do kink, the only reason you do bloodplay, the only reason you do any, like, just... And maybe it's because people have been duped by OnlyFans too many times. I don't know. They just get confused about stuff. It's ridiculous. It's just, yeah, not the acts themselves, yeah. Nah, she weirds hell for that, yeah. She's unique in her hatreds. Honestly, I think we really should have picked up on her fat phobia a lot sooner. But also, she wrote Harry Potter at the time of, like, peak fat phobia. So, like, maybe that's why we all didn't notice that, like, J.K. Rowling really hates fat people, like, a lot. Like a disturbing amount. But then it all ends up looping back around, right? Because, like, being fat, disabled, trans, queer, asexual, kinky, polyamorous, all the things. Anything that can be linked to any other thing to make it seem more gross proves how each one of those things are gross and bad and wrong, because you're not being a skinny, blonde Christian woman in a monogamous marriage with the first and only man you ever had sex with, where you only have sex as assigned for reproductive purposes during times when you are, I don't know, ritually clean, because you're one of those Christians who's fundamentalist, likes to cosplay being, like, kind of Jewish. Like, just, what are we doing, people? But, I don't know how we got off on that tangent of this topic, but, the person who did the dog bowl little photo that was cute, they also previously made a joke about some flavor of incest roleplay with another adult. And there was a term I saw people use that I didn't recognize, and maybe other people know what this is. I swear it was like siscon or something, like cis, like sister. Oh wait, okay, this is actually like a thing. Okay, the anime cat girl strike again. It stands for sister complex, a state of strong attachment and obsession to one's sister or sisters. In Japanese, it's commonly abbreviated as siscon, in which case the term can also refer to those brothers and sisters who feel a strong sense of attachment or affection or attachment to their sisters. Which, to me, that does not necessarily rule out any sort of incest implications to that. That just seems like a different label for a similar thing. But I don't know. I'm not familiar with that as an anime trope, I gotta be honest. Fucking making sunscreen in their kitchen and eating it. Listen, if Nara Smith making sunscreen in her kitchen does not prove to you that she should never be listened to under any circumstances, even if you think that she's, like, wholesome and nice, I don't know what to tell you. Do not make homemade sunscreen. It doesn't work. You will get burned. You will get skin cancer. Just fucking go to the store and buy regular sunscreen, okay? I love the Kinship sunscreen. You can get it at Ulta. You can get it at Sephora. It's great stuff. You can get it for pretty cheap. It's mineral-based. If you don't like the chemical sunscreens, it works fantastic, okay? Just get that, okay? Don't make sunscreen in your fucking kitchen, all right? Just don't make sunscreen in your kitchen. I don't have any other comments about that. Just don't do it. It's bad. I have a friend who is that type of fundamentalist Christian. Funny thing, I started watching Evie because she reminds me of the opposite of my super fundamentalist friends. I guess I am, in a lot of ways, the anti-fundamentalist. Polyamorous, not Christian, not blonde. I don't think I've ever read any version of the Bible that fundamentalists read. Any of that stuff. I regularly see people with incest kinks call themselves a siscon in a joking, fun way. Just to be honest, yeah. Oh, yeah, the Irish thing, too. Yeah. She doesn't like Irish people, either. I mean, she's a Blairite, so I guess I'm not shocked by that. My mom often tries to get me to use homemade sunscreen because it doesn't have any zinc or other toxic chemicals. So she doesn't put preservatives in it either. Okay. You know what's really fun is using homemade skincare products and then getting a fungal infection because you didn't put any fucking preservatives in it. Preservatives are fine. You can even get preservatives that are like extracted from like radishes and shit. Okay, like you can from like there's like a lactis basilica or something like based like probiotic based antibiotic. I don't know what the fuck it's called. It's got some big long fancy scientific name. I just love. Don't you just love it when you give yourself skin infections and have to go to the dermatologist because you use homemade skincare products that weren't preserved properly? Oh God. Oh, I mean, you look and sound like her. Okay, that's funny. Maybe I do have a twin out there somewhere. That would be funny. I've thought about infiltrating Christian homemaking subreddits on an alt account and not saying I'm trans and seeing if they accept me. I honestly think it wouldn't be that difficult. I think you could definitely do that, Lexi. Those chemicals are what protect you from the sun. I know. Also, like, the fact that they think zinc is, like, the fact that they think zinc is a toxic chemical is, like, very funny to me. Zinc, you mean, like, one of the most important compounds that you need to have a functional immune system. For when you're chugging the raw milk. Not that topical zinc, like, you know what I mean? Like, in general, you need to have zinc in your diet. The fact that topical zinc application is a problem, but you, like, need to consume zinc, because if you don't, all of the raw milk you're consuming will definitely kill you. Just because we all gotta know that people that are anti-sunscreen love their raw milk, because that's not full of chemicals. I know. I love a good Asian sunscreen. I just don't want to like have to. I'm a simple girl. All right. I don't want to have to like try and find a reputable website to buy an Asian skincare thing from, and that's the only thing from them that I buy. Because like I keep my skincare real simple, just a little moisturizer, tretinoin at night, sunscreen. I don't really do anything that special anymore. I found actually if I do really minimal stuff, it works basically the same, and I don't have to worry about skin irritation on top of the tretinoin. So I don't really have any reason to like do a giant order from Asian brands, and I'm always worried about getting a fake, so I don't. But valid. Everything is made of chemicals because that's how the universe works. Exactly. Also true. I think luckily we all know that. Unless you weld or do brass casting, you don't have to worry about zinc fumes. You know, that's probably a good point. Okay, so you keep going off into not actually talking about what happened. So this person made an incest joke. I said it was a joke. I don't remember the context of it, but they said it was a joke, and like they're a stranger online, so like I don't have a reason not to believe them. Okay, they have like an anime profile picture. They're a dog girl on the internet. Like they're probably just like joking about it as like a role play thing. That happens. It's common. And then this turned into them promoting incest. Not incest role play. Not a fantasy. Not anything consensual. Just look, proof that trans people are dangerous because look at this trans person who is talking about enjoying incest. Don't allow them to be around your children. Sort of the headline summary of a lot of the responses to this. I don't know why I need to clarify this, but I will clarify it. And this is why I think it's important that we adopt terms. This is a great example of why we need to adopt terms in the kink world and in the general, I don't know, sexual fantasy world that make things distinct and different from actual crimes or things that, you know, people have, associate with crimes. So, for example, having a CNC fantasy or having a ravishment fantasy is not the same thing as rape. Having a total power exchange relationship is not the same thing as wanting actual human beings to be enslaved. Wanting or engaging in incest fantasies does not mean that you want or promote actual real-life incest. Okay? Just to be totally clear. And this is not me just, like, defending something because, oh, well, this is a kink I care about and blah, 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 because I don't. But the science on this is extraordinarily settled, okay? We don't have a ton of data out there compared to other fields about humanity in like medical literature. We don't have that many studies by comparison in terms of volume about human sexuality. But the one thing that we have absolutely, definitely looked at is the correlation between certain fantasy interests and propensity to commit crimes. And there is no link whatsoever across the board between an interest in different types of roleplay, different types of kinks, different types of power exchange relationships, and different types of consensual fantasies done with other adults in the bedroom. There is no correlation between any of those of any flavor, whether it be pet play, DDLG, any of that stuff. No correlation whatsoever between any of those things and actual crimes. Never has been the case, never will be the case. People, for some reason, want to blame minority groups as being like responsible for perpetuating and normalizing these horrific things that do happen to real people in real life because they're uncomfortable with like fantasy things. Fantasy does not mean that you actually want to do the thing for real against non-consenting parties as a crime. Never been the case, will never be the case. Can there be an outlier where it happens? Sure. But in terms of the stats, there's no correlation. There's no causal link between those two things. People like to say that there is. Do you know what there is a causal link between? Religious fundamentalism and incest. Religious fundamentalism and rape. Religious fundamentalism and a lot of fucking sexual problems. The vast majority of crimes against children, sex crimes against people in general, and a lot of the issues that people get up in arms about in terms of sexual fantasies, the people who are actually perpetuating those crimes tend to be people that are extremely conservative, religious fundamentalists, and people that like are typically actually very sexually conservative and very restrictive around sex. They tend to be the ones that are actually perpetuating the most number of crimes. So if we should be looking anywhere at any group for perpetuating harm against people in society and normalizing things like this, we should be looking at conservatives and like extreme conservatives and religious fundamentalists. You know, the people that like are opposed to like instituting minimum age requirements for marriage. People that want to make it so a 14-year-old can without parental permission or with parental permission even can marry a 20-year-old that had sex with her. And by had sex with her, I mean assaulted her because she's a 14-year-old. And her parents put them up to it or whatever. And also the institutions around religions as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just looking at individual people, and the institutions around these religions and these groups also perpetuate these harms and enable them. And it happens every fucking time. I don't know what it is. You just give a man a religious cult, and like the third thing he's going to do is find a way to have sex with a 12-year-old. I don't know why, which is really just raping a 12-year-old. I don't know why that just happens. I don't know what it is. People form a cult, start a religion, and then go, you know what I want to do? Commit sex crimes against minors. You really couldn't have thought world hunger? Is it the high-speed rail? No, you want, okay, that's what we're going to go with? Okay, fantastic. Fundies are hella perverted, repressed, and sexually stunted. Like, hardcore. Yep. Yes, Evie, preach. Fundamentalism and incest, rape, molestation, child stuff. Yep. Big time. Very sadly, but big time those things. The great thing is we've already had this conversation. I wish our collective memory was better. Maybe then we'd all know better than to let history repeat itself. I wish that we could all just remember these conversations and not do this. Because we went from cringe, and this is it. This is why I'm talking about this. Because we went from direct line of things happened here. Random trans woman on Twitter posts a cute photo of her dinner at a desk. People get offended by that and say that it's cringe. People look at their old tweets and see, oh my God, here's a joke, but I'm not going to represent it as being a joke. I'm going to represent it as a real statement to make them seem even worse because look, their interest in kink is proof that we should have been suspicious about them, because look at what they're talking about in other places, which is making a joke about doing sister stuff with one of their other trans woman friends who's another adult, whatever. And then we're going to use this blanketly as proof that look at this degeneracy. Look at how terrible these trans people are. This is proof they're a danger to children. And then everything gets all jumbled up together. The kink, the roleplay fantasies, the sexuality, the sexual orientation, and the trans stuff all put together to prove, look, this is proof of how terrible and awful these people are. They are so gross. They can't be trusted around kids. And it's like, I feel like there's like way other bigger issues. Like, I don't know, sexual assault at like Christian colleges. Like that's like an actual issue. Like what's going on with the fucking Amish right now? What's going on with like IBLP? What's going on with like any like, I don't know, the Calvinists? Like, I don't know, the people that get real wackadoodle. We should be looking at them. To be clear, I don't have a problem with Christianity in general, or any religion, in and of itself, right? I'm an anti-theist. I don't think that religion is fundamentally wrong or inherently damaging to human beings. I think religion can be very helpful for people. I think it can be a thing that helps us, find our way in the world, find purpose and meaning. I think that religion can play a very positive role in people's lives. I think it's capable of doing that. However, I think there are a lot of religions, especially ones that are patriarchal, that go in a very extreme way, that are extraordinarily conservative, that do not promote values that I share. And they do, because of their very nature, promote things that are dangerous and then cover it up and then point the finger somewhere else so no one's looking at them. The issue is leaders of these cults drink their own Kool-Aid when it comes to purity. I wonder if that's always the case, because I also know that like a fair amount of them like stage shit intentionally. Like I forget which one of them. One of them staged like a fake assassination attempt to like make themselves look more innocent. Was that Jim Jones? I forget. One of them did like a whole like fake stage assassination to like make themselves look more legit. So I think they're definitely willing of doing things. They're able to do things cynically in order to like, promote certain ideas in their followers, because they're ultimately just like grifters and liars, so they don't really care. But that happened like recently. There's like a hate preacher that like I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to say definitively, but my gut instinct is I think that they like faked a drive-by shooting at their house to rile up their followers, because those ties, they've been dipping off, so let's do something really extreme to make people be sympathetic for us again. Just totally disgusting stuff. Very disgusting. When people say can't be trusted around kids, I can never tell whether it's a form of Gen Z Puritan or an alt-right conservative. Yeah, the fact that like I can go on Twitter and like it used to be, whenever you saw discourse like this about like, oh my god, trans people, so blah, 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 like you always knew it was some like old conservative guy with like sunglasses on, selfie in his truck, taking a picture with fish. Like you knew who you were dealing with. It was very apparent. It was very clear. But now, like, it's like 50-50. They're like, I don't even know if they realize they're agreeing with each other, that they're in the same circles. Maybe it's because it's not like big conservatives glomming onto this, but like how do you not realize that like the conversations you're having are like they're just agreeing with like super transphobic conservative people? Like hello, knock knock. Do you hear what's going on? Do you understand? Yeah, it's very, very strange. I don't understand. Like and I feel like maybe I didn't notice it before, but especially in the last 6 months to a year, it's increasingly become the case that when I see discourse about kinky people, queer people, trans people, that either people leading the charge or participating in it and helping it go viral are other people of that same identity group, especially queer and trans people, who are trying to be like, listen, I'm one of the good ones, I'm not like them, blah blah blah. It's just very disappointing. So that's my take on it. I think that taboo kinks are, to be clear, I should just really I don't want to have any misunderstandings. I am 1,000% against crimes against children, actual incest, actual sexual assault, enslaving people. I'm against all of those things. I think all those things are disgusting. They're crimes. I think that most of the time, the sentences that are given to people who commit those crimes on average are too low. I do believe in like rehabilitative justice. I think that we should give people more opportunities to reform themselves. We don't basically do that at all right now in this country. I think that we could definitely reform our justice system. At the same time, I'm pretty sure that it's bullshit that like a rapist gets like 5 years in prison. I think if you're a serial rapist, or you're committing a violent rape, or honestly any of that stuff, I'm not going to be too specific about it, doing anything like that, you deserve to go to jail for a lot longer than that. I literally just read a story earlier today. Well, I read two. There's a lot of stuff in the news. I read 2 stories earlier today. One is I read a story about a woman that was like trapped in a guy's barn in Poland for like 4 years and no one noticed. And he like experimented on her extensively and it was really fucked up and like no one noticed and like who knows how much jail time he's gonna get. And the second thing that I read is a woman whose ex-husband, who was arrested for domestic violence, got out on bail, went to her work and shot her in the head. Like just point blank execution style, shot her in the parking lot. She's a nurse, so she worked for a hospital. She ended up living. She was in a coma for like 9 days. It was really grisly, but she lived. Because for some reason in this country, a man can be arrested, a person, really, but most of the violent murders following domestic violence are for men, so just forgive my language usage there. But people can literally commit acts of violence against their spouse for years, have it be documented, have people be willing to say on the record, I think if this guy is free, he will kill her. Multiple people can say that. And they can just post bail and get out. Because one judge, one fucking guy, can just be like, it's the first time I found he's never been arrested before, he'll probably be fine. He'll probably be okay, she's probably just being too dramatic. I mean, they were married. I mean, like, how bad could he have really been if they were willing to get married? And then he almost kills them. Fantastic stuff. So, these things are really serious. I don't think that we take them seriously enough as a society. We make too many jokes about them, especially when it comes to, and just, again, let it never be said that I don't care about men, especially when it comes to adult women acting against minor boys, or minor children really, but especially when it comes to boys. We do not take that seriously enough. People make jokes about it. They talk about how lucky the boy is. They almost encourage it in a way. It's very bizarre. I think that's also really fucked up and we need to stop doing that immediately, because male victims of violence also matter regardless of who the perpetrator is. It's just gross that as a society we minimize that because if I was that age I would have been head over heels of my you're still being taken advantage of. You were 12, you would still have been taken advantage of at that time. The real world is just as crazy how those people survive, yeah. It just, it's not just bad for a woman to have sex, sleep around, enjoy it, etc., the conservative puritanical. It's also very bad for her to ever turn down her husband for sex. That's her wifely duty, yeah. The paradoxes embedded in conservative ideology are apparent to anyone who thinks about it for more than a second or two. Before you get married, you're supposed to say no and be pure, not even literally there are people who think it's a sin to even think about sex in a theoretical way, not in a masturbatory way, not in a we're reading an erotica way, not even that, but just to idly as a thought passing through your head. If you think about sex, you are committing a sin and you need to repent for it. But then after you get married, the literal 2 hours after you get married, put out, right? There's a rumor for one of the Duggar weddings. I think it was Josh and Anna Duggar. There was a rumor that when they got married, he forced/compelled her to have sex in the closet, before they went to their wedding reception. That was her first time having physical, intimate contact with a man. Can you believe it? That's so fucking, I just hate that so much. It's so gross to me. I find it so deeply repulsive, both because of who I know Josh to be these days, and also because even in isolation, even if he had never done anything else to anyone else, that would be fucking gross. It just would be so disgusting to me. Yeah, the correct kind of sex is almost mandatory according to Puritanism. Yeah, you're just supposed to put up your husband all the time. It's real gross. So that's that on that. I think those crimes are all disgusting. I don't think that anyone should do any of those things. I think if they do them, regardless of the reason why or the religion or their background or anything. They should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and their victims should be protected. That is the main thing. Oftentimes, even if a prosecutor is very aggressive in pursuing a charge for those crimes or doing an investigation, they will put the victim in very unsafe circumstances by like not removing their guns, by letting them out on bail, by revealing who reported them for the crime. Like, you would be shocked how many times in like domestic violence cases that like police officer like rings up the culprit to be like, oh, hey, so we got a report from so-and-so. We just want to know, do you have any comment about that? Like, as part of the investigation, and even if they don't say the name of who reported them, like, if somebody is severely socially isolated and hasn't seen any friends or family in 5 years, who else would report them? Like, they live out in the woods, they have no neighbors, they don't have any family that comes around, no one would have seen anything, so the person who made the report would have had to be the victim. Or even if it's not, they're still going to blame it on the person and they're going to get beat up, and that's going to be a really dangerous situation. Just like the way that domestic violence in this country gets handled, and pretty much anywhere in the world, to be entirely honest with you, like, just enrages me, just makes me so mad, because there's so many obvious things that we could be doing differently that we don't do differently because I don't know, we're afraid of like, well, what if it's a false accusation? Well, what if like, okay, well, like if it turns out to be a false accusation, then you give them the guns back. Then you let the lawyers argue and convince them that they should be out on bail. Okay, just if we had a better justice system, it would not be that bad to be held in jail temporarily while charges are being filed. Like, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, it's like a whole other thing. So I think all those things are really bad. However, in this situation, that's not what we're talking about. We're not actually talking about real incest. We're not talking about actual sex crimes. We're not talking about rapes. We're not talking about any of that stuff. All of those things would be bad if we're talking about them as crimes. However, in the context of a joke, of something you're doing as a role play thing with another adult person over the internet, that's not a crime. There's no proof that it leads to crimes. People who are into those things are not criminals. People who are into those things are not actual, like, honestly, a lot of the time, I didn't say this earlier, often, a lot of the times, people who enjoy fantasies about ravishment or incest roleplay or anything like that, oftentimes they themselves are victims, and this can be a way to help them process. Not every time, but a significant amount of the time, people on either side of the slash, either role being played, they are also victims themselves, and this is actually a way of like them taking power back over the situation. It can actually be a processing thing, which I think most of us probably already know, but just to say it and get it out there in case someone needed to hear that. But wow, that's taboo. It's taboo kinks. They're fine, and I think we don't really if somebody, and this is when we're getting into things like taboo kinks and then potentially crossing the line, or maybe when there is an overlap interest in something that could become a crime, we don't do anyone any favors by condemning it wholesale and basically talking about like, well, if I ever found out that so-and-so did insert kind of crime here, I would go John Wick mode on them. I would kill them. I would make them regret it. I would smash their hands. I would make their life miserable. Like, if we go to that kind of punitive justice, that makes it very hard for people who are struggling with fantasies they don't want to be having to actually get help. Like, somebody could be having unwanted fantasies that maybe they've had that are like or like intrusive thoughts, like, because there's a whole thing called there's like a subcategory of OCD that's like all about people having unwanted thoughts about like committing crimes against children. That's like a whole thing that people deal with. And people like that, they don't really want to commit the crime, but they're so afraid of it, and they don't want to talk about it with a professional because they're afraid of getting arrested or getting in trouble, that they don't get help for their disorder, and then it gets worse. And we want people to be able to get help. So it doesn't actually help anyone to be like, I think that all people with insert fantasy here, insert interest here, like, deserve to die. That's never helpful. It's never going to make anything better. You're just creating an environment where people are less likely to seek help or talk to people that they trust who can encourage them to get help. You're not actually helping any victims in that scenario, right? Because definitionally, you can't know if they're actually like that bad or not until they have victims anyway. So yeah, it's wow. On the topic of needing a term to separate actual incest from roleplay, I have seen the term faux-cest on Tumblr, which feels like a solid potential alternative. I feel like that's a solid one. Doesn't have quite the flair of like ravishment play, but you know what? It's better than nothing, so I will take it. Yeah. But maybe, I don't know if I want to make a whole video like unraveling incest roleplay and like talking about why people are into that, because I think it's like any other kink. A lot of people have it. It's very widely misunderstood. I think once people understand the motivations for why people say they enjoy it, like it'll probably relate to a lot of kinks that like you might have or other people might have. And it's not really that alien once you understand the connections there, but it's so uncomfortable for so many people that it's hard to even broach the topic. I remember when I was in the army, several soldiers got roofied by the same girl, but none of them ever reported it except one in his command told him just get over it. I mean, sexual assault problems in the army? Say it ain't so. That's a real big issue. Real big issue. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that I was a teenager when the pendulum had swung the other way into whatever rocks your boat, just don't yuck each other's yum. I am very glad for that as well. I think I'd be a very different person if I was a teenager right now. It would probably be real bad. Real bad, especially with, having a conservative upbringing and all that. Real as someone with terrible intrusive thoughts from my CSA, it feels like I can't talk about it to anyone. They don't realize it's an unwanted thought. Yeah, like people just hear the thought and they're like, well, yeah, I mean, of course you don't want to think it, but like you're thinking in the first place, so you're a bad person. We just don't have the nuance to be able to talk about this in any kind of appropriate way. Because like with so many people my age, when I was like 13 to 16, it was all, if I was your sister, I'd sneak into your room at night and play with you and so on. And honestly, half the appeal in that fantasy scenario was the 24/7 accessibility, more so than the fictional incest, Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I did never hear that growing up, but I can see how, like, especially when you're a teenager and your access to sex is like very restricted, getting to essentially sleep next to someone and be able to have sex when you feel like it, like, yeah, that would probably be appealing. Also, it's somebody that that you have a deep bond with. I'll make a video about this if I decide it's a topic I want to do more research on. But there's lots of reasons for it that when you stop and think about it as a fantasy concept, you're like, oh, I can kind of see the appeal for that. Plus, also, this thought I didn't share. This is a really important one. It is deeply ironic, like actually ironic, for real, that you have people saying, oh my God, trans people are degenerate freaks who can't be trusted around kids because look at the way that they talk about, they're joking about incest, or they're not joking about it, they're just talking about it. And they're into these degenerate, weird, freaky sex acts. They can't be trusted around kids. But then you go to any mainstream porn website, any OnlyFans account, talk to any sex worker who works with cishet clients. There is wall-to-wall incest stuff on Pornhub, on OnlyFans. Sometimes kind of real stuff. Like on OnlyFans, you'll find like brothers kissing and like cousins doing stuff and like Trisha Paytas. Trisha Paytas. I can't believe we forgot about this collectively as a society. Trisha Paytas at one point was making OnlyFans content with one of her actual sisters. And I think her mom, and wanted to do other content with people, I don't know, and just didn't think, oh, that's crossing a line. Making actual sexual content with biological siblings. And maybe she got canceled for that, but I think people just went oh, that's Trisha, she's just funny, haha. We forgot about that for some reason. But yeah, for cishet people, you can just the front page of your porn websites can literally just be step sibling, step sister, the stepmom, stepdad, step cousin, step whatever. Just put the word step in front of it in the title and you're golden. Everyone accepts that that's unless you're a rad femme, maybe. Everyone accepts that. Oh, that's just a fantasy. It's just it's just a fun framework for it's taboo and that's why it's interesting and blah blah blah. People are totally fine with that then, but then a trans person's into the same thing and suddenly, oh no, Oh, no, totally unacceptable. And it's like, I know what you people request on OnlyFans. I see the kinds of roleplay things you want to do with sex workers. I see the most popular porn categories are every year. If anyone is perpetuating normalizing incest through the use of fantasy and pornography, it's not trans people. Definitely not the trans people. What about having taboo kinks when you're not a survivor? Important question. I'm very privileged that I haven't been SA'd. I mean, hey, congratulations. I wouldn't feel bad about that at all. I think it's valid to feel weird about that, but also, like, I'm legitimately happy for you. But IDK of having taboo fantasies is making light of survivors. I mean, I will say that no survivor is going to think the same thing about this. There are survivors who will absolutely be offended by that. That there will be survivors that if they hear about somebody else who is like role-playing something that they, like a version of what they went through as an actual assault, they will be upset about that and it will hurt their feelings. Absolutely. There are other survivors that don't care and it's not damaging to them and they're just like, hey, I get it, whatever floats your boat, I understand. So there's no like universal truth about that. I would say just be cautious about like talking about it, but also like these things are common enough in society and we see them enough in media to where I think that it's totally fine. Like, because even if like we haven't experienced assault or incest or things like that, like a lot of us like mentally role play, like, what do I do if this terrible thing happens to me? What do I do if I'm walking home and somebody jumps out from the bushes? Or I'm coming home from the gym and there's a guy in the back of my car. Or I go home and there's a man like hiding in my kitchen. Like a lot of us, even if we haven't actually experienced those things for real, we have such a heightened anxiety because of how our society functions and the level of risk that seemingly exists for these things to happen in the first place, that like we mentally exercise going through these things a lot, and that, you know, and like what we would do and how we act, what would happen, and the anxiety that we experience from that can also be something that we like get relief from role playing it happening in a consensual way that we like. And this is a really good explanation for why like ravishment fantasies are so common with like basically any demographic of women, regardless of age, previous experience with SA or not, like how liberal or conservative they are. Across the board is very popular because as a society, socially, as a category of people, we have to worry about those kinds of crimes happening to us in the first place. So I think it makes sense that there can be like mental relief just from that, even role-playing it in a consensual way. And also because like they can represent things symbolically that maybe we can't get to directly through like more standard like role-play interactions, like giving us permission to play with force, giving us a context to want to play with things where it's okay that you can say no, and just like have things still turn out okay. Like there's lots of reasons for why this stuff happens. It doesn't necessarily have to correlate with, but like, you know, people can still be upset about that regardless. A trans woman fucked a pumpkin and put it on Twitter as a joke, and people lost their minds. I wish I was shocked by that. I truly wish I was shocked by that. Like, is that a thing? Isn't that like people like? Wasn't there a meme going around like a couple years ago of like a guy fucking a hot melon? Like it says that guy fucking a hot melon. Like, we just can't let trans people be funny. It's just so sad. Like, I think it's funny that they fucked a pumpkin. I think that's hilarious because like there is a trend of cishet people fucking ridiculous food because it's like a desperation thing of like, I was so horny I had to fuck something, so I carved a hole in this pumpkin. I put the melon in the microwave so I could see if it felt like a vagina. Like I understand, but it's funny that it's like when a trans person says it, it's proof of degeneracy, but then a straight person doesn't and it's porn they get paid for. Yeah. As a survivor, consensual roleplay is fine. It's more the unsolicited comments or harmless jokes that feel like you're making light of the situation. Yeah, I think that's where I get back to like, you know, be aware of how you're talking about it on social media and, you know, the kind of comments you're making. And, you know, just it's okay to have a fantasy. Just be aware of how you're talking about it and the audience you're talking about it to. Yeah. She would not be. Also, isn't like to not even talk about like also women, like cis women talk about like picking up cucumbers at the supermarket, you know, like I mean, hopefully that's happening less because we have better dildo technology these days and it's less weird to buy a dildo. But Like, this is people fucking and getting fucked by vegetables is not a new phenomenon started by like weird trans people on Twitter. It's not a new thing. I honestly don't know. I never asked anyone how fucking melons actually felt. I would be curious to know what the feedback is. Clearly, it can't be that good because it wasn't a trend. And we know if it's actually trendy and it feels good, a ton of people will start doing it. Damn, we need to let people fuck fruits and vegetables. It's literally fine. Yeah, we're the anti-vegans that are like, plants actually feel things, so when you have sex with them, you're actually committing vegetable rape. I am waiting for that comment to happen from like the same people that are like, actually being vegan is unethical because plants still have feelings or whatever. I'm just waiting for that to come out. All right, I'm gonna assume that my camera's gonna be fine for the next couple of minutes. I really need a fan on myself. My legs are like sticking to the chair right now. It's not pleasant. Dildo technology. I said it and I'll say it again. I meant what I said. By the way, is there a name for a kink when you actually like to be forced into a kink that you actually don't like to a certain limit? Is that some form of CNC? I would probably call that a form of CNC. Potentially, depending on how you're doing it, it could get into like mindfuckery territory as well. But CNC is like, it's very broad, and to me, that's what I would call CNC. If you want to make a bait post, go for it. I'm not going to stop you, but just like carefully consider the consequences first. I don't see if we have any other important thoughts about this, so I'm going to try to at least answer one more question before we get to the end of the stream here. But thank you for hearing me out. I will. There's enough. I think it's maybe now that I've talked it out a little bit. I think it's important to have maybe a wider conversation about like incest as a kink that people can have, or faux-cest maybe. We'll call it faux-cest. Just because it seems like there's a lot of misunderstandings about it, and it's important to break down those barriers. Maybe a fitting name for those types of fantasies could be sibling play or relatives play. I think it's a common enough vanilla interest, like a vanilla fetish, that maybe it should be something that we make more expansive. But I think, more ideas is always better. The term intrusive thoughts kind of got co-opted by TikTok and then completely misused as it just means a sudden impulse or urge. Yeah, like I'm talking about like actually like intrusive and impulsive thoughts. Not, which are different things, but you know what I mean. It's like people just skip over the word intrusive. Like, I don't want to think about that. That's why it's an intrusive thought. Yeah, people just don't know what the word intrusive means. Just like they don't know what POV means. Just like they don't know what a lot of words mean. Just like last night, it's like the all insert X dog breed here is bad instead of just solving the real problem. Exactly. Funnily enough, it really goes back to that a lot. It combines it with so many other kinks. Bullying, yep. Free use, yep. Age play, yep. Sneaky/secretive roleplay, also, yep. It's there's a reason why a lot of people are into it. There's a lot of kink overlaps with it for sure. I hate when people talk reaction or reaction justice, or maybe like reactive justice. One, because it doesn't give you prevention measures. Two, they actually make the hypothetical crime so severe you can't actually argue with them on it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, but what if they kidnap somebody and put them in their basement and do this, and that? And it's like, okay, well, like, yeah, okay. They've hidden 40 people in their basement for 10 years. I think, Ron, okay. But it's not, most crimes are not that. Most crimes are not that. And there's a lot of like mental illness associated with criminality that we don't really talk about. I heard that Gen Z is the most socially conservative generation in decades. Is that true? So from the stats that I've seen, I don't know about social conservatism, but for political conservatism, Gen Z women on average are like very liberal, like even more so than millennials are. But Gen Z men are much more conservative. So you end up with like way more liberal women, way more conservative men, and that I think the men are so conservative that it ends up like knocking the average into like being more conservative on average. But also, when they say like more conservative, I'm not actually sure if they're breaking it down by gender or not with that, or if they're like combining it on average. But there's a graph I remember seeing that talked about like the average like political leanings of different generations, and on average, Gen Z was like very liberal for women and like very conservative for men. It's extremely polarized. Like literally Andrew Tate, for real. Like we joke about him and he's funny, but like. It is, when people are concerned about people like Andrew Tate being a big influence on young people, it has a meaningful impact. Not just him, but like the whole ecosystem around him, and that whole way of thinking is very much there. I wonder if the repression makes people incapable of recognizing different emotions and end up sexualizing everything. That is a great theory. I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I think if you're not given the opportunity to talk about boundaries, to have normal relationships to sexuality develop, at those points in time in years when you're supposed to be doing that experimentation and trial and error, and you end up being fully repressed until you're like 30 years old and you get married, that is going to have downstream consequences of like not being able to recognize like what's appropriate versus inappropriate. And also I think a big part of it is the way that people in those communities are often raised is like all sins are kind of on the same level. So like, having sexual thoughts before marriage is like kind of just as bad as like, having sex with your wife when she doesn't want to have sex with you. Like that's like, oh, well, it's kind of bad, but like, do a little extra Hail Mary. They probably don't do that if they're Protestant. Do that? I don't know what Protestants do. What do Protestants do when they like feel bad about something and they have to make amends? They just say, "Dear Jesus, please don't be mad at me because I forced my wife to have sex with me this morning. I promise I really needed it, and it was the demon in my penis made me do it." like is that just they have a direct conversation to God to be like, "Hey, so I messed up. I promise I won't do it again." Like, the thought of that is very funny to me. Oh yeah, and the R slur is like definitely coming back big time. Okay, still looking for some more questions because I know we ended up talking about taboo kinks for a long time, but we have lots of questions about this, so makes sense that we would go off in this direction. Like, do these people think someone calling someone else sis or bro means they literally see them as a sister or a brother? No. So how do they not understand this? Well, and it's funny because it's like, well, like, what are some of the most, like, people use daddy. Like, vanilla cis people use daddy as, like, a term of endearment. Not in a kink way, but just they call each other daddy. They call each other baby and baby girl. They call each other, like, kind of incestuous pet names all the time, and they're just like, oh, well, it's normal when I do it. Okay, why is it normal when you do it, but not when, like, a gay person does it? Yeah, bizarre. I've seen that discourse before because a lot of trans girls call other trans girls their sisters. Like, that's not actual incest. Oh, that's a whole other angle to this I hadn't considered, too. Because I've seen that, too, and I just didn't think anything of it because, like, I understand in terms of how people speak that, like, you can call someone your sister that's not literally biologically your sister. But also, if you have trans derangement syndrome, if you see a trans person doing literally anything, you'll find a way to be mad about it, so. Yeah. I don't bother importing Korean sunscreen either, but that's partly because the European ones are still quite good. LOL, like they absorb so quickly and don't leave streaks. Yeah, it took a lot of trial and error to find a sunscreen that I like. and it works really well. But if I was struggling to find one, I would not have problems looking for a sunscreen. Right to the part we're talking about sunscreen. The true intersection of all of my interests. Ragging on fundamentalists, talking about skincare products, and that's it. Okay, I'm at the top of where I can get to in the chat still. I definitely missed a lot of earlier questions, but let's see. Who's going to be the random person whose question I answer at the very end of the stream here? Did the dog end up going? No, she has a spot she likes to go to when it's hot, where she's like behind the couch and like underneath my coffee table, and she just likes to chill out there. And just like hang underneath that. I don't know if it's actually cooler underneath there, but she's like very well hidden, except for like a teeny little piece of fluff. It's very cute. Aren't iPads like always broken though? Maybe familial fantasy is an alternative term. I don't know if that communicates that it's not related to the crime, because it does make it sound like you're just fantasizing about your family members. And that's still basically just incest. I'm hoping to do a video on incest roleplay, but I also really want to see a continuation of the most recent vid. Oh yeah, I will definitely. I mean, like I make videos all the time, so I will be doing both because I have the ability to do that. So worry not. I'm gonna have cake the day Tate goes to jail. That sounds amazing. I would love to have like a vanilla, like strawberry shortcake right now. That would sound amazing. I don't have the ingredients to make that, and I don't want to go to the store, so I gotta figure something out. I'm gonna read that. That's I'll just be my little secret to laugh at there. It's like the Dropout TV skit is a conversation where dude is replaced with daddy. I think I remember seeing that. Oh my gosh. Very funny. My perception is that Gen Z have very liberal politics, but are very vanilla in their own lives comparatively to other generations, especially millennials and Gen Z. I did just see an article headline, though I didn't read the article yet, that said that, like, why is Gen Z, like, the most averse to sex, but, like, the most kinky generation at the same time? Because I think, well, it depends on how you define kink. I think Gen Z is very open to, like, choking each other, but I don't think they're like going to the BDSM community in droves. Like, and maybe it's just the kind of content I make and the platform I'm on, but I don't see like a lot of like a huge influx of like new Gen Z people discovering kink. Like, it's mostly people who are older who are discovering it, not so much getting involved at like exactly 18. What do you think of playing with food? Okay, so this is going to be the last question. I think playing with food is super fun. In a splashing, wet and messy kind of way. I love doing it for a kink. I love doing it on camping trips. It's super fun. I like the texture of it. I love the sensation. As a primal play thing, I love playing with it for a primal play thing. You know, a little pomegranate situation. You know, red berries. Like, I like getting messy. Like, as long as I have access to a shower. That's all I care about. It's not a kink I participate in super regularly because it has to be a certain time of year where I can go outside on a camping trip, something that people around me are into doing. It has to be a certain combination of things to come together, but like when that moment does happen, it's really fun. I like it. I'm a big texture person. I'm a big sensation person, and food play to me is another way to do that. Like, it's not really about it being food. Like, kind of, it doesn't matter if it's a food substance to me or not. I don't care about it being edible at all. For me, it's just the texture and like, you know, the contrast of sensations is really enjoyable. Or maybe what it might add on to like a role play thing, right? For again, like the primal stuff, for example. Yes. We are pro sex worker here in this chat. We support sex workers. If you want to white knight for like trying to protect the poor sex workers from their own exploitation that they're willingly participating in, I don't have time for that. Sex workers are fine. Sex workers are great. most of the time, people that are targeting trafficking issues are actually just not really doing anything to actually stop trafficking. They're just making like work harder for consensual sex workers that are doing it because of the job they like. Listen, I know a lot of sex workers. Almost all of them really enjoy what they do, and they would not do anything else for a job. And a lot of them do it because it's easier for them to do than a 9-to-5, either because of disability reasons or other things. So, just hop off with that. Hop off with that. That's what I would say. Technically, anything is food if you're hungry enough. Well, like, I hope a car tire isn't. Don't eat rocks, please. Don't do that. But yeah, I like food play is fun. Oh, good, a committed contrarian. Yeah, I know. Everyone loves those. I love wet and messy play. Wet and messy play, underrated. I do get a little bit annoyed by people that like do it to be like, I don't know. I've known people in the scene that do food play just to be like, to be different than other people. Like, oh, look at me, I'm doing my, like, I don't know. Also, people do that with like any kink. It's not really a food play thing in particular. Underutilized kink, very fun. Lots of different role play opportunities. And, hey, I know also groceries are expensive right now. Don't let your extra food in the fridge go to waste. Reuse it for a kink scene. Reduce, reuse, recycle your vegetable like leftovers that you don't want to eat. Your eggshells for a kink scene, I guess. Don't eat rocks, please. You are insulting my rock-eating ancestors. Apparently. Sorry to do that. I guess I'm just a hater after all. Wet and messy stuff with shaving cream sounds super fun. I also imagine it feels better than whipped cream since it would be moisturizing instead of sticky. Also, pleasant scent. Pleasant scent component. Lots of options. Anyways, oh yeah, people sell edible dirt, clay, and rocks. I've seen that, and I haven't actually watched any of those videos, so I'm not sure if they literally mean it's dirt, like if you tested it in a spectrometer, would it be dirt? Or if they mean like it's something edible made to look like dirt, like play dirt. And I really hope it's the latter, but also like Pika is a thing. So yeah. This isn't a debate forum. I'm not a political streamer that has an open floor for debate. If you want to have that kind of discourse, go to pretty much any political streamer's chat and not mine. That's my take on that. I find a lot of wet and messy play unappealing because of sensory issues, especially beans. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that. I laughed at myself because of the way that I said beans. I wasn't laughing about you. Like having sensory issues with beans. Absolutely not for me. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but I can see why that would be unappealing. I can see why. I had a time period when I was a kid where like I basically lived off of like Honey Nut Cheerios for like a couple months. So, it happens. Not that like is comparable really, but just that's the closest thing I've got. But like, I have things I don't really like. Like passion fruit, I find like visually repulsive. Like an open passion fruit, I find gross to look at. Or boiling chicken, hate the smell of boiling chicken, absolutely revolting to me. But I can get it to a certain extent, is what I'm saying. Berries and cream is peak. I like raspberries and blueberries for some nipple eating from action. Like putting it on somebody's nipples and eating them. I hadn't thought of that before. That's an interesting way of doing it. I'm more of a smearing around person and then licking and doing things too. Good point though. Aquarium gravel, yum. Don't eat the aquarium gravel. Oh my goodness. We're into the clay mineral eating discourse now. Apparently, I gotta prepare for next time. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about clay eating discourse. I'll catch up. I'll see what's going on there. That's the way you said beans too. I'm glad that other people thought that was funny. Oh, listen, we don't always get it right on the first take, do we? Was it? Oh, you're right. Wasn't beans the name of the little shit from Even Stevens? You're right. Oh my god, I hadn't thought about that show in so long. I think isn't Christy Carlton Romano like a Scientologist or something? I remember hearing something disappointing about her that made me really sad lately. It's like, oh no. I wonder how much my interest in latex, satin, slime, etc. has to do with my sensory seeking. A non-zero amount, I would probably say. But that being said, that's going to be it for now, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this beautiful Friday evening. I will now, as a bonus, retrieve my pupperino. Hi, my darling. Hello. The people want to see you, honey. What? Hello. Yes, you get some belly rubs. Come here, my darling. All right, come on. Boop, 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 boop. Ta-da! Hello. You were so sleepy, my baby. You were so sleepy. Such a sleepy girl. Tell them what you think about, I don't know, beans. How do you feel about beans? You don't really like beans. I've tried giving you one baked bean before, and you were not. I don't think you were into it. You're just a meat and potatoes kind of gal. You're just meat and cheese. That's what you like. You don't really go in for the vegetables. Well, you like green beans, actually. You like green beans. They're not really your favorite, though. Green beans are okay. Green beans, 6 out of 10. Cheese, 11 out of 10. Cheese, 11 out of 10. I will eat 0 rocks per day. Good goal. Look at this little creature. Look at this little creature. Oh, goodness. All right. This is your moment of zen. I like to do this. I like... I know. I'm so mean to you. I'm bullying you, huh? I'm bullying you by messing with your little scalp. Oh, I know. You're gonna cough or sneeze. I can feel it. Cheems and beams. Only mean cheese, a dog after my own heart. Yeah, she's like, I mean, Pomeranians kind of have a reputation for being picky eaters. She likes green beans, pumpkin, doesn't really like peanut butter, meat and cheese. Those are her favorite treats. And obviously like regular dog food and stuff. And like if I, egg and rice, she likes pretty well as a thing. Dogs love cheese, but they're not supposed to eat cheese. LOL, we used to get it out of the house. And throw the cheese. Well, to be clear, because I'm vegan, she doesn't have cheese that often. Is when we go over to a meat eater's house, and if like occasionally she'll get like, when I give her treats, it's like the smallest amount. Like if it's human food, it's like she gets like this much, like just like a single. I will literally feed her a single shred of cheese, and she loves it. You do, huh? You love the cheese. You love the cheese. Yes. I don't know why I was Italian for that, but you know. Saying daddy to your partner when your parents versus before kids, it hits differently. Yeah, that's definitely true. I've heard that from people who are parents before. I'm not really like a big like daddy kink person, so I don't really have strong feelings about that, but she is tiny. Yes, that is why. Tiny and sensitive stomach. So we get nice things occasionally in small doses that does not affect our weight. So we can have both the joy of experiencing new things and tasty things without the downside of, you know, weight and joint issues. People have kidney stones because people don't eat enough rocks. Well, I had a kidney stone and my doctor didn't tell me that. When I had a kidney stone, they told me to drink more water and not eat so much spinach. They didn't tell me anything about rocks. I thought I had too many oxalates. I was having too many peanuts and too many nuts, too many nut-based products, too much spinach. Which sucks because I like all those things, but now I drink a lot of water and I'm fine. My family's cat gets pumpkin in his food, so his I'm not gonna read the rest of that, but yeah. I like the idea of a cat licking pumpkin. I think that's entertaining. She gets a Bendita-sized amount. Exactly. We all get it. We're all on the same page here. Me, don't give a whole Parmigiano roll to eat / sleep on. Yeah, I've never given her a whole sheet of lardo before. I've never given her a whole rack of lamb. I have considered at some point getting her, like, maybe for her 15th birthday or something, if, you know, fingers crossed, if heaven does not reclaim her by that age, which they won't, because she's supposed to be here on Earth until at least 20. So that's the lease I signed with the angels. So that's what they have to honor. But I thought about getting her a whole, like, rotisserie chicken or something and just, like, seeing what she would do. Just, like, if one of my family members has, like, chickens or something, being like, hey, can I just, like, have that for my dog? I don't know. I'm not sure ethically what's a good way to, like, get my dog chicken, but I know enough meat eaters to where they could probably swing it. Because everyone in my life loves this dog, so I'm pretty sure if I told a family member or something, like, for Bandit's 15th birthday, can you get her a whole chicken? They'd probably do it. I just don't want to have my money go to pay for animal products. I feel like kinky people are more often autistic because it's like a non-typical, non-mainstream way of engaging with your feelings and stuff, especially if you struggle with alexithymia, it can be useful. And also the structure. I think the structure is really helpful. That's a good point, Caitlin. I think that's very, very true. Without spinach, how will you punch burly sailors macing on your girl? I think you just have to do regular lettuce. A spring mix, I guess. Not nearly as effective. Every cat enjoys one food that isn't animal-based. My cat loves potato chips. I've heard croissants. I've heard that before. There's different types of kidney stones, and you can also get calcium stones, but yeah, stay away from Tums and Topamax, a migraine medication. Well, hopefully you never have migraines. I'll remember that. I did look at, when I first got my kidney stone, they gave me a bunch of charts for, like, the different kinds of kidney stones and what to avoid eating, have what kind of stone. But then they tested my stone and it was an oxalate stone. So that's the information I've retained for that. A lot of it also means, like, have less processed food, eat less dairy, things like that, which I don't do. So more or less good. She is probably smaller than a chicken, especially a big broiler chicken. I think if it got, like, an organic, like a farm-raised chicken, she'd probably be about the same size. But especially when she's wet and you just the fluff has been reduced, she's 10 pounds. So I don't know how big birds normally are, but maybe about that size. My cat would totally eat an entire rotisserie chicken. I think she would stare at it. I don't know. Honestly, this is what I anticipate happening. I anticipate her trying to grab it and hide it somewhere. I don't think she would sit and start eating it. I think, because, like, if I give her a beef cheek roll or, like, some kind of dog treat that's, like, bigger than, like, the size of a Post-it note, she will hide it somewhere. She will look around and she will, for 2 hours, she will go everywhere in the apartment. She will look everywhere. She will go under the bed. She will go in the closet. She will go outside. She will go on the patio. She will go on the couch. She will hop off the couch. I try not to, like, I say hop off the couch. It means, like, she begs for me to put her up on the couch, and then, like, then she begs for me to let her off the couch. She'd go wander around. She goes in the kitchen. She goes in the bathroom. She goes to the rugs. She looks in every possible crevice to hide the precious, amazing, delightful thing that she has just received. And then I eventually have to find it. I have to tear it off into smaller pieces and give it to her incrementally. Otherwise, it will stay hidden in the couch cushions until she forgets about it. An eagle? A big eagle could. I don't think a hawk could, but a big eagle could probably swing it. I think she'd be heavier than the eagles expected. Hello, my baby. What are we doing? Okay, I really gotta go, y'all. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me on this Friday night. I really have enjoyed you all being here. Gotta go make a lemon poppy seed what? A muffin? I can't see what the rest of that says. It's covered up by the heart thing. Lemon poppy seed cake. Ooh, that sounds really good. Love a good lemon poppy seed cake. So delicious. Oh yeah, no grapes, no garlic, no onion, no chocolate, artificial sweeteners. Oh yeah, never live near any one of those. I'm very strict. Like, even if somebody wants to give her a piece of food and it's been seasoned, I'm like, what's been seasoned with? Go rinse it off. Like, I don't. If anything even has the possibility of having onion or like garlic powder on it, it's a hard no. But it's good to know in general for people. We're apparently having an autism party. All right. Enjoy your autism party, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for being here with me during this rant and our technical difficulties. I really appreciate it. If you have not seen our most recent video, it's me telling the beginning of my journey into kink. It's a very fun little story. It has drama. It has twists and turns. It has all the things you want in a good story time. So hopefully you'll go over and enjoy that. Again, thank you all so much. I'll hopefully see you all next week because we stream every Friday here at 6 o'clock on YouTube. And I will talk to you all again soon. Bye!